I love retro games, and chances are, if you clicked on this video, so do you. However, have you ever wanted a little more from your favorite classics? Well, that's where RetroAchievements comes in. It's a website that adds achievements to all your favorite old games, and even your least favorite. Recently they added support for Wii games, and last video I played New Super Mario Bros. Wii. So what better game to play afterwards than Sonic 4? Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is one of the biggest letdowns ever when it comes to Sonic games. And that's saying a lot given the Sonic franchise is notorious for its letdowns. But Sonic 4 is different, as it was parading as a sequel to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Need I explain why this game was a letdown? So join me in today's video as I get every achievement in Sega's attempt at making their own New Super Mario Bros. Wii using RetroAchievements. So the game starts off like most Sonic games, Green Hill Zone. I always hear Mario and Sonic fans talking about how tired these classic zones are getting. But let's be honest here, the few times we got a Green Hill replacement, the only noticeable difference was the color palette and name. And even then, Emerald and Green are synonyms. But who cares about Emerald Hill? Back to good old Green Hill. Another thing you may immediately notice is how this game looks. It looks like a cheap, crappy game you'd get in a cereal box as a reward. Not a full-fledged game made by Sonic Team and sold on digital storefronts everywhere. The art style, for example. Everything looks too... I don't even know how to describe it. Corporate? Bland? Generic? Whatever the case might be, compared to the backgrounds and enemies, Sonic looks cel-shaded. Why? Also, he has this stupid facial expression where his mouth is constantly open and smiling, even when he dies. As for the gameplay, well, same here, it feels like a cheap, poorly made Sonic game. Sonic's acceleration is too slow, his jump's too floaty, and I know this is a normal thing when it comes to the homing attack, but if you don't chain it together, it just kinda kills your momentum. All that combines to make a pretty miserable experience. Given the fact that this is Sonic the Hedgehog and not Super Mario in space. And even then, Mario Galaxy actually feels like a good game, but anyways. Another thing I must mention is how confusing the level design is. Half of the time I don't know what's going on, or I fall into a death pit. Now, this could either be because it's my first time playing this game, or it could be because the camera's too zoomed in, but whatever the case is, I don't like it. To be honest with you, I don't like dying in any game, but here it's special because I'm not having fun while playing it either, so Anyways, there's not much I can say that hasn't already been said, so instead I'm going to try to say something positive. Well, the music's nice. But it's a Sonic game, so of course it has good music. Well, yeah, I think that might just be about it. Anyways, I got the first Chaos Emerald and achievement of the run, that being ring insurance, for having 100 rings. Then Green Hill Acts 2 and 3 pass without much problems. Although I should mention, Act 3 looks like that one zone from Sonic EYX. I don't know why out of all the things I could think of, that's what I think of. But it does make the zone a little bit cooler, And now, here comes the first boss battle. Now, in the first Sonic game, you could hit the bosses as they're doing their little cutscenes of getting on the screen. Here, though, it's only once they start moving and attacking. This could just be me being bad, because I assume it's a normal Sonic game. But that's the thing. Isn't this a normal Sonic game? Or, it could just be the developers fixing an issue that's been hardwired into people's brains as a strategy since 1991. As for the boss, well, it's Sonic 1's first boss. Whoop-de-doo. I guess they took one good look at New Super Mario Bros. Wii not pushing boundaries creatively and said, why does Sonic need new ideas? The difference is that game was good, this one isn't. And also, there was never a 2D Sonic drought like there was with Mario, because in the time between Sonic 3 and this game, there was a whole 10 2D games! Now granted, not all of them are classics, however Sonic Triple Trouble and the Sonic Advance games that this game is trying oh so heavily to mimic are 1,000 times better. However, there is some creativity here. When you get 4 hits in on Robotnik, he starts a phase 2 where he slams the ground with his wrecking ball. Anywho, next up is Casino Night Zone. Because of course, the first thing my mind jumps to when I think Sonic the Hedgehog is gambling. I seriously don't know what it is with Sega putting gambling everywhere. I mean, I'm surprised there isn't a Super Monkey Ball Slots game yet. In Act 1, I got a jackpot and didn't get an achievement for that. Now, I did get this jackpot first try, so as far as I can tell, it's probably a 100% chance. But still, Sonic 2's set has it. Why doesn't this game? Well, I guess I did get something. Ring it on for having 200 rings, so I probably shouldn't complain. Also, after Act 1, I didn't press the Play Next Act button, resulting in me seeing the overworld for the first time. Yeah, this Sonic game has a more open structure where you can tackle Act 3 before 2, however, there's so little levels it's pointless. Well, remember what I said about the camera being too zoomed in, leading to death pits getting me because there is nothing to differentiate death pits with routes to the bottom path? Yeah, well, this section in Casino Night Act 2 where these cards flip and you're supposed to time your jumps as to not die, well, I died quite a bit here. But eventually, I managed through. Act 3 has these cannons that annoy the ever-loving hell out of me. So, you know, I heard this saying from the YouTuber Scooch, that Mario games are precise, whereas Sonic games are spectacle. Yeah, well, for some reason, like most things, this game flips the script. And now, oh boy, see these cannons? Yeah, for some reason I gotta manually aim and shoot them. Once again, confusing level design is the bane of this game's existence, and well, wouldn't you know it, that sucks. The boss here is the Casino Night Zone boss. And the phase 2 is him charging up an attack and then turning into a Beyblade. Too bad he charges up for one whole eternity. And well, I don't know about you, but that's plenty of time for me to finish him off. Oh, hell no. Out of all the classic zones they could have put in this revival of 2D Sonic games, they chose Labyrinth Zone? One of the most disliked zones of all time? Here though, they actually made Acts 1 and 2 cool and refreshing. Act 1 has this cool Indiana Jones section. Too bad everything ever has an Indiana Jones section these days. And then there's these boulders you have to push, and Sonic has a goofy animation when standing on them. You remember how I said my frustrations with the way this game plays could be chalked up to it being my first time playing it? Yeah, well, here I brute forced Act 2 because almost everywhere these stupid drill guys would appear. Act 2 is actually something a bit cooler. A dark spelunky type of level where every 2 feet there's big old blocks of TNT. This is more of a puzzle type of level, which isn't actually half bad, but there was this one section that was really annoying. But besides that, it's awesome. Also, there's a Donkey Kong Country minecart section. How can you not like this level? Act 3 is once again underwater. Kinda sad given the last level breathed so much life and creativity into Labyrinth Zone. And now we're back to repeating the past. Repeating so much so that these stupid infinite waterfall sections are here. Why do Sonic games have these? Also, this water pushing section. There was one earlier in the act and it kinda confused me. Because as I said, Sonic is about spectacle and this just kinda looks awkward. But later on in the level, there's spikes in one of these sections, and yeah, this is horrible, this sucks. The boss fight is first the Labyrinth Zone boss, and then he transitions into the Aquatic Ruin boss, except way worse, as instead of having the threat of arrows, it's about getting crushed. Honestly, massive downgrade. And funny thing is, it's easier because of not having the arrows. So easy, in fact, after dying once because I didn't expect crushers, I got the achievement, Trap-Filled Escapist, for beating the boss here without getting hit once. Next up is the final zone? Yeah, no wonder this game is called Part 1 because this is laughably short, even for a Sonic game. Anyways, it was this zone when it clicked with me that this game is trying its hardest to copy Sonic Advance, because although this zone's color palette and enemy variety and boss are all based off Metropolis Zone from Sonic 2, it feels much more like Secret Base Zone in the level design and gameplay. Unfortunately, this isn't Sonic Advance, so I don't get the liberty of enjoying myself. Act 1 of Mad Gear Zone, as it's called, has these steam pipe things that I thought were pretty cool. Act 2 has these cogwheels that confused me at first because any normal person would think that running right would make the gear spin, but nope, you gotta go backwards. Hey, at least Sonic is still taking notes from MJ. This level also reminded me why I hate these green mantis-looking enemies. Act 3 is very cool. It's a runaway from giant wall level. Now, there was something like this in Aquatic Ruin Act 3, but it was only for a couple seconds. Here, though, it's the main gimmick. I will, however, say the first time I went through this level, one of these doors locked, and I had to die, but otherwise this was a pretty fun level. Although it did get annoying when these rotating platforms appeared. They killed the pace of the level, and this level is supposed to be fast-paced. The boss is, as I mentioned, Metropolis Zone's boss. However, unlike in Sonic 2 where you could pop the baby Eggman that spawned here, touching them hurts you no matter what, which I think is stupid. And then it turns into this horrible chase section. I say horrible because you're almost guaranteed to get hit by these blue or big yellow baby Eggman. Anyways, after beating up Robotnik, Sonic chases him. They have an exchange which is horribly awkward because this is a 2010 game with the modern Sonic and Eggman designs, so not having voice acting makes this look extremely weird. And to make things even weirder, Eggman just flies to space casually in his egg pod, and then Sonic takes the conveniently placed rocket and follows him. Talk about dedicated rivalry. Anywho, I didn't mention this, but I think it adds to the cheap feel this game has. In all the zones, splash screens, Robotnik is referred to as Dr. Eggman, which, I mean, I've heard him be called Robotnik, I've heard him be called Dr. Robotnik, I've also heard him be called Eggman, but Dr. Eggman? Excuse me, what? Eggman is a nickname, you don't just add Doctor to that. That'd be like if I got a PhD and people called me Dr. Your Local Game Player. It's just stupid. But this final boss place area is actually a boss rush, and after beating each of Eggman's previous machines, we get to see the Big Death Egg mech from Sonic 2. Sonic Team really loves this idea, don't they? Anyways, he does the usual mech things. However, since this time we have rings and his hitbox on the hands is laughably generous, so it's actually super easy. Yeah, except it isn't, since this guy takes a lot of hits to kill and has a phase 2, but after a couple of tries he gets cooked like it's 1992. And then we see a very crappy recreation of the Sonic 1 ending. Sonic runs to that familiar spot, looks at us, but since there's no voice acting, it comes off as weird rather than endearing, and then jumps and turns into a crusty PNG. Though the crust may be a side effect of playing the Wii version. Still though, compared to Sonic 1's ending where he took up a respectable amount of the screen, here he's just there. Okay, with the game done and dusted, now is achievement hunting time. But first, I'd like to mention, if you've been enjoying the video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. First, I went back and did In the Blink of an Eye for beating Green Hill Zone's Robotnik without getting hit and with 50 seconds or less on the timer. After that, The Only Way Is Forward for beating Casino Knight's boss without pressing left at all. Then came Like Clockwork for beating Mad Gear Zone's boss without getting hit and with 1 minute and 35 seconds or less on the timer. By the way, I did this so well, I'm 5th place on the Time Attack leaderboards for this level in particular. Pretty cool. Afterwards was Splashing Speed for beating Green Hill Zone in a minute or less. This was pretty tight, but eventually I locked in and was done with it. Weird thing about our next achievement, Deadly Exam, is that this is the first time I've seen a retro achievement set go easier than an official game set. Now granted, the Wii is sort of the first console to be part of an achievement-capable generation, but there are certain games that have been from earlier console generations that are on Steam and have achievements, like Sonic Adventure for example. That being said, what do I mean? Well, in Sonic 4 Episode 1's Steam release, there's an achievement where you have to go through Egg Station Zone damageless. Here, thankfully, it's only deathless. Well, now came time to do all the speedrun achievements. I had an epiphany while doing this. Now don't get me wrong, this game made me long for good old Sonic 1 and 2, but yeah, I kinda started understanding the levels. Now don't get me wrong, I wasn't enjoying myself because these speedrun chivos were also incredibly tight. However, I felt what the game designers were going for. Also, these achievements were far easier after I watched real speedrunners play them. Also, the speedruns on special stages were actually easy. How about that? Also, these special stages are better than Sonic 1 special stages because you can sort of control Sonic a bit more than in Sonic 1. And the speedruns weren't so tight or harsh as the level speedruns, so I actually like these. Oh, speaking of which, Chaos Emeralds. You can become Super Sonic in this game. But I'm only mentioning this to transition on to the next achievement, Lightning Reflexes, for collecting all the rings during the credit sequence, which was mega difficult until I saw a task speedrun, and then I figured out how and where to jump. And so now, I was done with this wet fart of a game, and could go on to greater pastures. This completion clocked in at 15 hours and 18 minutes. Sonic 4 isn't my first Sonic game that I've beaten, and that's bad because this isn't a very good game. Still though, it wasn't god-awful. As for the achievements, they didn't help the fact I had to continue playing the game, which, as I said, led me to wanting to play the classic titles more so than continue this one. Anywho, that being said, it was sort of a nostalgic experience since I played Episode 2 a lot as a kid, since it was a free game on mobile devices. But yeah, look guys, don't do this. I'm only doing this because I'm a YouTuber. That being said, happy achievement hunting to the rest of you mad lads mastering sets. As for the people who enjoy my content, like, and if you want more content of this sort, subscribe.